Happy Chanukah and good evening. It is now the 7th night of Chanukah. We lit the 7th candle of Chanukah tonight. Hanerot Halelu Kodesh Hem. These are the candles that are holy to us. And every night of Chanukah we meet here on the Hidabroot channel. And we celebrate Chanukah together. And we've got guest rabbis, songs, and good music. Our sages established the 8 days of Chanukah as days of song and praise. So here we are to celebrate together. Tonight we have a special guest, Rabbi Dovid Kaplan. Rabbi Kaplan is a lecturer, and he lectures all over Israel, America, and Europe. He is presently a senior lecturer at Or Sameach, Jerusalem. His positive approach to clarifying Jewish issues is an inspiration to people around the world. Now, Rabbi Kaplan, welcome, but we start with music on this one. So would you sing with me, or is that your thing, or not so much? I'm singing along. I had a feeling I was going to be singing along. I think we'll do another Yevanim, although I kind of want to do Al Nisim. Al Hanisim ve'al Hapurkan ve'al Hagvor ve'al Hatshuva ve'al Hamilchamot she'azit lavosenu b'yomim ha'em b'zman hazeh. Al Hanisim ve'al Hapurkan ve'al Hagvor ve'al Hatshuva ve'al Hamilchamot she'azit lavosenu b'yomim ha'em b'zman hazeh. Al Hanisim ve'al Hapurkan ve'al Hagvor ve'al Hatshuva ve'al Hamilchamot she'azit lavosenu b'yomim ha'em b'zman hazeh. Al Hanisim ve'al Hapurkan ve'al Hagvor ve'al Hatshuva ve'al Hamilchamot she'azit lavosenu b'yomim ha'em b'zman hazeh. Al Hanisim ve'al Hapurkan ve'al Hagvor ve'al Hatshuva ve'al Hamilchamot she'azit lavosenu b'yomim ha'em b'zman hazeh. Al Hanisim ve'al Hapurkan ve'al Hagvor ve'al Hatshuva ve'al Hamilchamot she'azit lavosenu b'yomim ha'em b'zman hazeh. Yo, Al Hanisim ve'al Hapurkan ve'al Hagvor ve'al Hatshuva ve'al Hamilchamot she'azit lavosenu b'yomim ha'em b'zman hazeh. Al Hanisim ve'al Hapurkan ve'al Hagvor ve'al Hatshuva ve'al Hamilchamot she'azit lavosenu b'yomim ha'em b'zman hazeh.
This calls for a clap, right?
Rabbi.
Ooh, you shifted into serious real quick.
I have questions for you.
Uh-oh.
There's this concept of miracles, which is much more than the concept, meaning a reality of miracles. Everyone in their lives at one point or another had something that was, beyond this probability. The statistics would never have let this occur, yet we've all experienced these things. And some of those miracles are hidden, some are more revealed. I imagine the hidden ones are all around us all the time, I guess. But what is this hidden and open miracle?
Well, you got what people think it is, and you got what it is. The classic definition of a hidden miracle versus an open miracle, people think that to get to a miracle, you have to have a splitting of the sea. Right? For example,
open miracle.
An open miracle. An open miracle is with a plate full of sufganiyot. I have not consumed any. That is certainly an open miracle. But the people think like the splitting of the sea. Give me a miracle, the splitting of the sea. And they think that a miracle is really something that transcends nature. That's really what jumps into people's mind. The problem is that to transcend nature, even the Torah, when it describes the splitting of the sea is described as a very physical act. The wind blew all night.
Yeah, it's interesting that it mentions the wind blew.
The wind blew all night. So then the skeptic comes along and says, well, I guess, the wind could blow. But the skeptic can't explain to you why it's split right at the moment that Moshe Rabbeinu, Moses, points and needs it. Then you get the miracle. So it's
Also, it says they crossed on dry land.
they crossed on dry
should
land.
add mud.
Right. So people think a miracle has to be, and then again, we use marriage is always used. We compare to marriage. It says to match people up is as difficult as the splitting of the sea. It's a miracle that people ever get married and meet each other, and in our day and age, it's a miracle that people stay married. That's a revealed miracle, that people manage to stay married. I heard actually one young lady said to her friend, when I go out with a guy, I ask myself, is this the man I want my children to spend every other weekend with? That's the state of marriage today.
That's really funny. You know what, I tell my students that we're happy you're engaged, and it's wonderful you're getting married, but as rabbis, we celebrate anniversaries. Like, let us know each year we're married. The fact that you had a pulse under your chuppah is not the impressive part.
That's right. That's right. Whereas, the fact of the matter is that a hidden miracle is what people think. A hidden miracle, the fact that we can move our fingers, as Ramban says, that you can move your body, it's a miracle. We take it for granted because we're so used to it. That's really where people go with a miracle. I could do it, and I never think about it, but the fact is that it's a miracle.
That's the hidden miracle.
That's the hidden miracle. The revealed miracle is generally anything beyond our experience. If Israel takes out the Egyptian army on the first day of the Six-Day War, so you could explain it, well, we had a better Air Force, but you didn't explain to me why the country who's been around at the time for 19 years, why did they develop a better Air Force, right? The other ones have been around a lot longer, right? And why were the Egyptians still on the ground, and why? So you could explain it in a very, very physical way, but it's timing and it's something beyond our experience, and therefore, do you know that, I'm sure you probably are aware, in West Point Military Academy in the United States, when they teach military strategy, they will not teach or study, the non-Jewish generals will not study Israel's wars, because they say these are wars that are won by miracles, and you can't teach miracles.
Military science.
Right, you can't tell your soldiers, oh, by the way, when the guys go out there, make sure they don't pull the pin on the grenades when they throw them at you. You know, that's what happened. They didn't pull the pin. The Israelis picked them up, threw them back. But you can't teach your soldiers to get the other guys to do that unless you got tremendous mind control.
Wow. How would the battle against the Greeks look like today?
How would the battle against the Greeks look today? So I'll tell you, somebody showed me a clipping from a newspaper many years ago written by an Israeli writer, not observant, and he posed a very provocative question to the Israeli public. He said, you know, imagine that battle is taking place today. You have the Greeks that stand for theater, entertainment, licentiousness, a certain lack of self-control, general fun. You have the Maccabees, the Hashmonaim, who stand for Torah study, prayer, character development, and you're celebrating Chanukah. You're eating sufganiyot, you're lighting the menorah. If that battle was taking place today, whose side would you be on? Who would you want to win that war? And it creates a tremendous identity crisis for any Jew who, 1 second, I'm living like a Greek, and if that war were happening today, whose side would I be on? Who would I really be rooting for?
You could almost say that's exactly what's going on often. And lately we've seen that some Jews are having a real identity crisis and who they're with.
Who are we with? Am I an Israeli? Am I a Jew? What am I exactly? And if I am a Jew, which you are because you're born Jewish, but then how does that Judaism manifest itself? Where are you showing, since we got 2,000 years of basically Hashmonai behavior, very little Greek behavior? Well, you want to be Jewish. How do you show that you're Jewish? Wow. I had a young lady once. Can I tell you a story?
Sure, please.
You might enjoy it. You could use it for your students. I walked into, my wife is from Columbus, Ohio. Not my fault. That's where she's from. And,
why is it particularly boring there or something?
It's kind of, it's not, it's kind of lower middle class, upper lower class, kind of just very America and not very Jewish.
Really?
Yeah.
Columbus.
It's very not. They actually test products in Columbus. When they market something, they put it in Columbus because that's very America.
Really?
If it sells in Columbus, it may sell in other. That's what they use.
Market
it's one of the
test.
places. Wait, what's it called?
Market research.
Market research. So I was there. I looked kind of Jewish. I had a black hat on, and I walk into an optometry shop. The young lady behind the counter, obviously not Jewish. I had to fill out a form. Where am I from? My father's middle initial. To buy glasses frames. Yeah. So I fill out this form. I remember the young lady picks up the paper. She looks at me, and she looks at the form. She starts saying, also she comes across, she goes, Jerusalem. You live in Jerusalem. Is it fun to live in Jerusalem? Now I tell you something. It takes a lot to get me speechless. I was speechless.
How do
I answer? Yeah, was it fun? Well, we have our moments. You know, if a bus drives up on the sidewalk and honks you out of the way, that's fun. And, you know, if you go into the bank and the guy drips falafel sauce on your papers, that's fun. But, you know, my wife and I, we decided to live in Israel. We took a lot of things into consideration. Yeah, growth as a Jew, Torah study, raising children, so on. Never once did we look at each other and say, and it's really fun to live in Jerusalem. So we're battling that. We're battling a whole world mentality of, oh, it's so much fun, right? And that's what we're battling. That's the battle today.
That's the battle today.
That's the battle. And you have fun on every square little box, electronic box. You have all the fun in the world. That's the battle.
Interesting. You're right, that's the fun.
That's the fun.
Wow. You know, there's a misconception when Jews approach Judaism who are not affiliated or not very observant, they always think that we're going to take away the stuff they love to do in life, that we're going to take away what they love to do.
It's a misconception.
Total misconception. I mean, they ask me sometimes, because I have a background in surfing and mountain biking, and I love craft beer, and I love music, and so I get the class to say kosher after each one.
There you go.
Surfing, I was like, kosher. Mountain biking, kosher. Craft beer, kosher. Yeah, so it's a real misconception. So on the one hand, the overemphasis you're saying on the fun as being kind of an end to itself.
Correct, exactly.
That's where the fight is.
Exactly.
There's nothing wrong with your fun, but you better
We're not
send
here
it
for
up.
fun.
You should send it up.
We're here to enjoy life. There's a difference between
distinguishing joy and
enjoy. Fun could be a broad range description. Enjoy life. I don't know if most Torah Jews do enjoy life.
Wow.
You can't confuse
very nice fun versus enjoyment.
We enjoy life, but fun has a certain. You know, after 5th grade, you know, we get past that. You know, let's have some fun. Let's have some fun.
Yeah, I know. A couple of 50-year-olds that can't get off the tennis court.
There you go.
they miss that.
And if you could be a Torah Jew and play tennis. There's nothing wrong with it. Kosher, as you say.
All right. How should one find inspiration to get himself to advance in Judaism? I mean, he wants to climb Jacob's ladder. He's got to advance. He wants to advance. But how does one get that inspiration to do that?
You know, if I had one pat answer for that, I would not be here. I'd be a multi-millionaire living somewhere. I'd have put Trump's tower to shame. I would make so much money. But there's a few approaches. There are a few approaches. The first approach, I think, is there are two types of Jews. There's a Jew who's already what we'll call an observant Jew, and the Jew who is looking in from the outside and wondering, should he jump into the water?
Which water would the observant one be?
The observant water, any water. The Jew who wants to become observant is wondering, should I jump into what we'll call the water as a symbol of observance? Then you have the Jews already in the water trying to increase the speed of his stroke. So you have two different Jews with two different, okay. So the Jew who's looking in from often is somewhat intimidated, and rightly so. You see a bunch of people who are, you know,
people going like this.
They're doing like that. And they're dressed in black, and they look like they only speak Aramaic, and you know, the whole thing looks intimidating. So what I always try to convey to the students is that I want to ask you a question right now, if I may. Imagine right now is your moment of grace. You could ask for any 3 things you want right now, any 3 things, and you'll get them, but it's not a fantasy. I mean, you could have 3 things that will guarantee you a happy, fulfilling, content life, but it's not a fantasy. So if you tell me you want to be the CEO of a corporation, you could be a CEO, but it goes with the ulcers and the pressures that are potentially there as being a CEO. If you want, I want to be a CEO with no pressure. Whereas one young man told me, I want a Harley Davidson 10,000. Yeah, but that goes with certain risks of racking up. I want a motorcycle with no chance of racking up. That's a fantasy.
Gotcha.
Now, if I give you 3 things that you'd like right now, and you ask yourself, and I give you a few seconds to think. Every time I've ever asked this to an audience, any audience, men, women, children, young and old, boys and girls, moms and dads, doesn't matter. The answer inevitably is number 1, 2 on the list. What would you think they are?
Number 1 and 2 for the average person?
For the average person.
Whew. I guess wealth would be one of them.
Nope.
Really?
Nope. Probably 3rd, but it's not there.
Health?
Health is always 1 or 2.
And family?
Yeah, you're on the ball.
Yeah.
1 or 2 is family, marriage/family. So I always tell people, what do you want? What are you looking for in life? You want 3 things. And they're the person, and I'll ask them, who would say wealth? My hand always goes up for wealth, by the way. Right? Okay. Who says power? Who says control? And I say, who says health? Woo, all the hands go up. Those who don't then kind of look around and say, yeah, you can switch now. You can see they're worried that they blew their chance. Okay, how many people want family, good marriage / family relations? Woo, all the hands go up in the air. All the hands go up in the air. I actually once had one couple, middle-aged couple, sitting in the front row, and I said, okay, how many people said health? How many people said marriage? So she puts her hand up, and the husband was kind of spacing out at the time. And all of a sudden, she says marriage. She looks at him like this. And he's like, oh. Yeah. And his hand goes up because he knew his health was on the line just then, too. So the question becomes, are you living your life right now in a way that will bring you the successful marriage and family, which you just said publicly are the two most important things in your life? Marriage is family, the most important thing. Or are you overworking, not putting enough time into your marriage, not putting enough time into your kids, chasing money, conveniences, fun, which you said is not the priority in your life. And therefore, a person who identifies what he's looking for in life, it becomes much easier for this person to then understand, look at the Torah world, look at the observant world, where family is so pronounced. It is so blatantly obvious. Yeah. The family life of the Orthodox Jews. Yeah. If that's what you're looking for, right, it's right here. Yeah. Nothing to hesitate.
Sure. There's a great singer, one of the greatest singers in the world is Sting. And his name's Sting, Gordon Sumner. But he's really like the top.
You're after the 70s, so you're beyond,
Yeah, he's from after 70s. And anyway, but a friend of mine, he said to a friend of mine who's Jewish, my friend's Jewish, with beautiful kids who raised really nicely. And he said to them, like, the one thing you Jews got is how to raise children.
Isn't that something?
Yeah.
Isn't that something?
Amazing.
And if you'd ask any Jew, any observant Jew, where's the success of your family? What would you say? Where is the success? Where is the key point of success in family? What would you say?
If you ask the average observant Jew?
The average observant Jew, what is the single most important factor which lends to the success of the family? Family unity, what would they say? Most people would say Shabbos. Shabbos, you have, in the course of 24 hours, a family sits at a table and communicates, unheard of in the Western world.
Wow, amazing. They say more than the Jews kept Shabbos, Shabbos kept the Jews.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And also the infinity of Shabbos, meaning the 6 days were like involved, and the Shabbos were out. And like Chanukah, it's like 8 days out.
And Shabbos is when not only you meet your family, Shabbos you get to meet yourself.
Yeah.
Who has that? People ask all the time, why so many restrictions and so many limitations on Shabbos? Without the restrictions, without the limitations, your family wouldn't be there. And that creates a situation where now we get to communicate. I'll tell you one last story. Yeah. A young man was met at the wall by Rabbi Meir Schuster, Zichrono Livracha. And he took this young man, he spoke to him, and he brought him over to his first Shabbos meal. Friday night meal, picked him up 2 hours later. He said, Timothy, how was it? He says, hey, that was great. That's like having Christmas once a week. Right? And that's his family. That's when the family got together once a year.
Wow.
We do it every week. Shabbos, person decides, I want family. That's where it's at.
Wow, amazing. And now we have a special guest from the U.S. We have Rabbi Daniel Schonbuch. Rabbi Schonbuch, tell us, what in your opinion is the main message of Chanukah?
Rabbi Glaser, one of the greatest themes of Hanukkah is the concept of light. And it turns out there's different times in the Jewish calendar where we celebrate light, but Hanukkah itself is very unique. Let's look at some of those times. One of those times happens every Friday night. Before Shabbat comes in, Jewish women around the world light their Shabbat candles. But why do we light candles before Shabbat? Most of us think of Shabbat as a time of rest. What's the connection with light? It turns out there was a machloket over 2,000 years ago, the Sadducees and the Pharisees. The Sadducees said that one cannot have light lit before Shabbat running into Shabbat. But those were the group of Jews who rejected the oral Torah, the Torah Sheba'al Peh and our Talmud, and our holy traditions. The other group of Jews, the Pharisees, said no, you can have light lit before Shabbat and into Shabbat. What does that tell us? The light of Shabbat brings shalom bayit into the home. The light of Shabbat is the light of Torah. It's the light of Torah Shabbal Peh. It gives us meaning in our lives. And that's why we light candles, and that's why the mitzvah of lighting Shabbat candles is a symbol of Jewish identity for thousands of years. A second light that we light is the light of Havdalah, the Havdalah ceremony at the end of Shabbat, where we take not just single lights, but we put two lights together that symbolizes the fires of Shabbat going into the fires of the week. We bring a little of that Shabbat, the little of the light that we saw during Shabbat, into the rest of the week with us. But yet there's a third light, a third time we celebrate the lights, and that's the lights of Chanukah. It's important to note, however, there's actually two very different stories about Chanukah. One story we learn about is how Judah HaMaccabee, the Maccabean, overcame one of the greatest empires in human history, that of the Greek Empire. The Torah tells us that the Greeks, when they ruled the world, ruled over the land of Israel. They made tremendous decrees against the Jewish people. They virtually wanted to wipe out the Jews and their connection to the Torah. And in fact, they took over our holy temple. They defiled our temple. And who was going to fight the Greeks? The Jewish people. But the Jewish people were a very, very small, tiny nation. And in fact, a small group of Jews called the Maccabees rose up with tremendous dedication, tremendous intensity, and were able to overcome the Greek Empire and actually push back the entire Greek Empire. My friends, this was a watershed moment in history where the Jews overcame one of the greatest powers in history. Yet the Torah focuses on not the physical victory of the story of Chanukah, but the spiritual victory. The Talmud tells us that when the Maccabees went into the temple, they found only one small jar of oil. Yet that one small jar of oil was able to burn for 8 days. So today, what do? We light one Hanukkah candle for every night of Hanukkah. And the last night we have these 8 candles burning bright. What a powerful thing we do. We're not celebrating the physical victory over the Greeks. My friends, what we're celebrating is the spiritual victory. It's a little bit of that light from Shabbat, the light of our holy Torah, the light of Havdalah. We bring holiness into the world. On Hanukkah, we celebrate that powerful spirituality. We nurture it. Have you ever looked at a small Hanukkah candle? It's a tiny little candle on our tables or outside of our doors. But we add another light and another light until we have 8 beautiful lights burning on Hanukkah. That, my friends, represents the power of Jewish spirituality. You know, there are so many forces in the world today trying to extinguish the flame of Judaism. Think about all the anti-Semitism in the world. Think about all the enemies of the Jewish people. But also think about all the things which are fighting against our spirituality today. The internet, our busy lives, the movies, the culture of the world telling us that Judaism isn't important. But despite that, what do we need to do? We need to light up that Hanukkah candle within us. We need to recognize it. As we light it up, as we increase the flame of our spirituality, we begin to not only change ourselves, but we begin to change the world. How does a Jewish person do that? We start learning more Torah. We start lighting Shabbat candles before Shabbat. We start teaching Torah to the world. We start doing more and more chesed for our people in our communities. We start loving other Jews with more and more intensity. That's how the light of Judaism begins to burn more and more brightly. There are so many stories of Jews around the world today, from the former Soviet Union, from countries all around the world, where they're far and distant from anything having to do with Judaism and Jewish identity. Yet people on the internet, or people are picking up books and reading about Judaism today, learning Torah, committing to keeping Shabbat, committed to keeping the laws of kashrut. And what happens every time they do a mitzvah? The light inside of them burns more strongly, and it burns faster, and it begins to bring us to a higher level as the Jewish nation is today. And every one of us can accomplish some small step today. Hanukkah reminds us to rekindle the flame deep within us. But even further, we have an idea that we should light Hanukkah candles outside of our homes as well. Why do we do this? And in fact, in the Beit HaMikdash, in the Holy Temple, the menorah inside the temple shone outwards from the windows of the temple outside into the world, illuminating the entire world. Friends, the Greeks destroyed us thousands of years ago. But there's one thing that goes on today, despite one of the greatest enemies in history, is the Chanukah candles. Despite all these impediments, despite all the tragedies that have faced the Jewish people, despite all the factors which tell us not to be Jewish, we still have a Jewish flame burning within us. And we take the mitzvah of Chanukah lights, and we bring it outside. We share Judaism with other people. Today is the time in Chanukah to remember our commitment to Jewish spirituality, to Jewish light, and more importantly, begin to burn our lights more brightly and share our message of Judaism with our friends, our families, and the world around us.
Thank you, Rabbi Schonbuch, and thank you very much, Rabbi Kaplan, for being with us and sharing your beautiful words and the great depth that you bring to us.
My pleasure.
And we'll see you tomorrow night for the 8th candle of Chanukah here on the Hidabroot channel. Happy Chanukah.